Hello everyone, and welcome to the showdown between the Beastmen led by old Kazrak One Eye and the High Elves who are going to be led by a prince on a Walmart dragon. So let's jump right into this match, guys, and have some fun. So as I said before, I will be using Kazrak for my Lord, but just a disclaimer before this game gets going, Kazrak is definitely not the most competitive choice. If you are going into a tournament against High Elves, Malagor is very good because Cygors are pretty powerful against elite infantry, like some of these Phoenix Guard and things like that. And then you also do have Morkur the Shadowgate, who of course is very tough to snipe, and Chaos Spawn, even against like a very spear-heavy faction, are still a decent thing to have on the battlefield. But Kazrak here does have a charge bonus of 113, he has the Scourge as well, so you can get some pretty good timing attacks on big infantry blobs and things like that. But, you know, I only realized when I got into the game, I'm like, oh wait, my opponent's probably going to have like dragons of some sort, which are so good at pitting down chariots, so I was definitely a little bit worried here, but we'll see how Kazrak does. On top of that, I do have two groups of Vestigor herds, which you definitely need. I mean, you can bring some gore herds and things like this in the front line, and, you know, a lot of High Elf players, at least as far as the metagame's been going, aren't bringing, like, balls of elite infantry. Rather, you'll see, like, one group of, I think he has one group of Phoenix Guard here, and, you know, kind of other supporting units like chariots and dragons and phoenixes. So you don't need, like, too much heavy AP, so you can get away with things like gore herds, but you still need to respect it, because if you don't, they bring, like, Phoenix Guard or Swordmasters of Hoeth, they're just going to just crush your front line. So I do have gore herds in the front here. They're going to be fighting spearmen. They have shields in case you went very heavy with archers or Lothran Seaguard, and then two groups of Vestigors to do the heavy lifting in the back. On top of that, we do have a Deathcaster on foot with the Faded Buna and Spirit Leech and the Jagged Dagger. So, you know, since I was bringing Kazrak, I was like, all right, I'm already bringing one kind of questionable unit here, so I need to bring one safe pick. And the Lord of Death is by far the best choice against High Elves. It is very, very good at dealing with elite troops. On top of that, I do have a couple of groups of Centaurs with throwing axes because I was expecting, you know, some elite troops or dragons or things like that. So, well, I mean, I guess I wasn't when I picked Kazrak, but aside from that, my instincts told me that I needed these guys, and they're very good. They can focus fire down the dragons. They're very quick with 95 speed, so they can actually, I think, outrun Illyrian Reaver archers. I'm not sure. I think Illyrian Reavers are pretty darn close in speed. And if you're playing High Elves against Beastmen, I would definitely recommend bringing the Illyrian Reavers because their combat stats are better than Centaurs with throwing axes, and they can counter-skirmish them very effectively. On top of that, guys, we are bringing the MINO train. So I have a couple groups of Minotaurs with shields who I was trying to be sneaky and hide over here in the forest, but my opponent, obviously, I was able to see them right away. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how they're going to work out. The shields are definitely very important because they have low armor, so they can get taken out by archers very quick. But I'm going to see how they do against, you know, Cav and maybe getting a good surround on some of these lords. I mean, they do hit very hard, so we're going to see how the Minotaurs do. For my opponent's army, a couple spears, Phoenix Guard. He does have a Frostheart Phoenix, a Walmart Dragon over here, which is kind of the ghetto haggard dragon. A couple chariots. He's got a Noble on a chariot, a regular Ilthamar chariot, and Lore of Life. So without further ado, guys, let the games begin. So in the front line, you can see I was getting some really good Centaur harass over here on these Phoenix Guard. My opponent did use a regrowth, which was able to heal them up pretty well, but still good damage. And you can see the Gore Herds are taking some substantial losses, but they still should do okay. So I'm getting my Vestigors in there, and you can also see the Minotaurs have now engaged in the front line, so they should be able to monster mash these guys a bit. But then, you know, I was trying to screen out his chariots, so I noticed that he had the chariots in the back. You can see the Walmart Dragon doing some breath attacks right there. So I didn't really know where the chariots were going to go. So I'm just getting the Minotaurs, and it's almost like a linebacker in the NFL just following a running back. So I'm just like running back and forth, trying to counterplay his chariots, because Minotaurs have good mass and hit very hard, so I should be able to do some pretty good damage there. In the meantime, Kazrak, I was getting him up and around, but this was a huge mistake. So I was like, oh, I'm going to get Kazrak and rear charge into his infantry, but then just this angry pigeon and the Walmart Dragon are coming in here, and this was really bad. So Kazrak is just getting whooped on right now. And had this been Kazrak on foot, and honestly, I think that would have been better, just having Kazrak there to deal with, you know, some of the infantry. But he's just getting schooled right now, so I'm just getting beaten down by this Walmart Master. And he also had some Dragon Princes hidden in the forest who are going to be coming to join. So I get my Minotaurs, and I also had some Spears and Auxiliary. So you can see I had a bunch of Ungor Spears kind of waiting here, so I should be able to fend them off pretty easily. You can see the Minotaurs are chasing them back into the forest. But the frontline fight's going in my favor. I would say the Vestigors are doing very well. The Spearmen are getting worn down. Some decent damage on top of these chariots here with my Minos and things like that. And also a Faded Buna going down on this Phoenix Guard, which should definitely finish them off. So in the meantime, the Minotaurs were able to chase down the Dragon Princes, and you can see they're actually taking these guys to task. The Dragon Princes are being chopped down, and my opponent doesn't want to commit to the fight because I am supporting with spears. So anytime you're using Minotaurs, I would always recommend supporting them with chaff units. That's really going to maximize their efficiency. So we're able to screen out those princes right there, but probably not worth it because I sent both Minotaurs. I should have just sent one and then maybe kept the rest. But I thought he was going to commit to that fight with the Walmart Dragon and the Phoenix. So he's trying to snipe Kazrak right now. I would do the same thing. So right now I'm just getting all my Centaurs with throwing axes and trying to do a juke on him, but unfortunately I just barely missed the juke. And you can see the Walmart Dragon and the Phoenix just munch him. So it just is the poor Baconator. Look at this thing. I normally wouldn't feel bad for such a foul monstrosity, but I do in this case. So the Walmart Dragon is able to feast on Kazrak. You can see he's laying on the ground, absolutely useless. Has done nothing for me this game. and he's done for. So right now, Centaurs with throwing axes, I'm pulling them back. I'm getting some of my Ungor spears to plug up some of these big troops here, and the Minotaurs are coming back into the fray. So I get some really good focus fire. You can see the Centaurs, the throwing axes, just poking down that prince, just sending him back to Walmart or Sam's Club or Target or wherever else he belongs. And the spears are just going to be chasing him off. So this is good. I'm getting a ton of damage right here. My opponent does have some healing, but I was able to actually get some good damage on his healer back here on the Ilthamar chariot. My Minotaurs were able to force him off. And now he has this noble. So the noble and the chariot against Beastmen, I would definitely recommend getting a noble probably on horseback for the anti-large bonus. Granted, Minotaurs aren't really, a contemporary. A lot of people don't bring them in the metagame, so maybe he wasn't expecting it. So the Minotaurs are just going to be chasing off this chariot, and they're very good against chariots. You can see there's just this herd of just angry beasts chasing here. In the meantime, and this is something that's really important on this map, my opponent did retreat off into the forest, so I was able to get my Ungor spearman herds and kind of just line them up on the periphery here and screen him out. So the knights either have to go all the way around, or they just have to deal with me. So here they come in a charge, and the dragon princes get a really nice charge, and I don't think I was braced as I was kind of reforming ranks right there. So very well played to my opponent there. And the nobles, of course, are coming in on the chariots as well. So the balance of power is very even. I have lost my lord, but again, his lord is very tattered as well. He's having to run away from my Centaurs here, and I definitely have won the infantry fight. The best score herds down here making very, I wouldn't say quick work, but they're chopping through most of these spearmen. They've already chased off a couple groups here. You can see the spearmen off in the distance, and yeah, these spearmen just do not have the AP to get through that 100 armor. So a very, very good trade for me initially. So even though he does have spears and things like that, Minotaurs still are a very powerful unit. You can see these ones, these Minotaurs with shields have pretty good combat stats. They're at 36 for melee attack and 46 melee defense, so they're going to be somewhat durable here. Bestigor's charging in. My opponent doing a very good job of rallying some of these chariots in the back, running through those Bestigor herds, which is pretty much the ideal target. And he's also trying to get his dragon princes around the back to do some harass, but the Minotaurs are just hot in pursuit. And you can see with their 63 speed, they're right on the tail of these guys who only have 78. Looks like some throwing axe fire might be friendly fire some of these Minotaurs. But I did have some gore herds here in the forest who are rallying, and he's obviously going to ride those guys down, but they should buy some time for the Minos to catch up. Minos. So over here, he did get his chariots back in, but I was able to screen them out with the Minotaurs, and some of my Ungor spears and Bestigor herds were kind of clearing up the last of his infantry. And he really doesn't have a whole lot left as it pertains to his main core. Some spearmen here are broken, Bestigors with 71 kills, these ones with 51. My Centaurs with throwing axes are running a little bit low on ammo, but they're still doing a very good job, and they're such a good tool against high elves. You can see the throwing axes are just taking these guys apart as the Minotaurs just, just get in there. And honestly, I don't think the Great Weapon variant is worth it. I mean, yeah, they're going to have a bonus versus large, but these Minotaurs have good enough melee attack, and their defensive stats that you get, and the shield is just so valuable in this matchup, that if you are going to try out Minotaurs here, I really think you need the shielded variant. So they just beat down those dragon princes and take them to task here, and you can see the spearmen. They have 63 models though, so they can do some work, so I do not want to stay in sustained combat there. In the meantime, my opponent does land his Walmart dragon over here, his prince, and I'm able to get a spirit leech with my caster. And I do also get some throwing axe pressure, but my opponent does also get an earthblood, so he's able to survive. Without that earthblood, he might have actually died there. So the Minotaurs are coming back, having cleaned up the back line. I'm just going to be tying up his spearmen with the remainder of my gore herds and things like that. Definitely don't need too much. And the balance power is now starting to go in my favor. So now that his lord is somewhat tattered, you can see, well, not somewhat tattered, very, very tattered, 261 HP, he's going to have to run away. And now the last of his troops, the Frostheart Phoenix, definitely not going to be able to stand up to this horde right here, and I decided to charge in my troops. I think I was charging them in melee. Actually, it looks like I was riding away. So he is trying to chase me off with his noble here, and I'm running low on ammo, but chariots are pretty terrible in sustained combat, so I think what I end up doing is grabbing all my guys and just, I'm like, why am I running from this thing? So I get in here. For some reason, whenever I see a noble, I'm always like, oh, it's an anti-large thing. I should probably run. But in this situation, you can see the herd is just collapsing. This noble is taking a world beating. His leadership is tanking, and he's definitely going to break off the battlefield right here. So as far as my opponent, what he has left, he does have this Frostheart Phoenix here. I don't think his dragon is still alive. Yeah, I think his dragon, I actually got an overcasted Spirit Leech, which was able to snipe him out in the distance. He has the Frostheart Phoenix, but the noble's broken. I have a fair amount of infantry. You can see there's a lot of Beastmen troops here. 63 of these Ungors, 31 Bestigors, a ton of Centaurs who, even when they are out of ammo, are decent kind of harass and skirmish units. And then 2 pretty much full health Minotaurs. So it was definitely some good stuff. So well played to my opponent. Let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdown. So the Minotaurs ended up being pretty good, but that's, largely because he didn't bring a missile build. Had he gone very heavily with like archers and that style of play against the Beastmen, there's a couple schools of thought. You go with very elite infantry, you snipe out their elites with the dragons like he did, and then from there you pick them apart with terror. Or you can use Lothar and Seaguard, who are also pretty good, so, there's a multitude of ways to play that matchup. But I'm personally not a huge fan of chariots. I feel like chariots in this matchup, I have tried them and had success, but if they have like Centaurs or any like large mass units, and Centaurs with great weapons are very standard with poison warhounds, So I think it's a little bit risky to try and bring chariots, but it was still a great game. I mean, he did a very good job of taking out Kazrak early on. But had that been like Morkur or Malagor, for example, I would have at least gotten a Cygor and probably could have protected them a little bit easier than that chariot, which was kind of a bulky and a big target. And chariots, I don't think chariots are great against high elves either because of the spears and the charge defense, and they're they're very good cav. They have dragon princes, they have phoenixes, they have dragons. So that was a little bit of a noobish mistake on my part. But yeah, the Minotaurs did well. They countered the chariots, they chased off the dragon princes, they were able to pound down some of these big monsters. I was definitely pretty happy with their performance. But again, the performance was only good simply because my opponent did not bring archers or things like that. And, yeah, I think without chariots, if he had just gotten like another group of dragon princes and maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the best way to deal with the Minos. Probably just archers would just cut them to pieces, even with their shields. So very well played to my opponent. We'll just call him Diga for short because I don't want to mangle all that, which I know I will. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing Kazrak get massacred. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.